Good afternoon, and thank you all for joining us. My name is Peter Ward. I'm with the SCV Chamber of Commerce, and I'm pleased to welcome you all. Before we get started, I do have a couple of housekeeping items I'd like to go over. Throughout the webinar, please use the questions feature in your control panel to submit any questions that you have. We will be answering them at the end of the webinar. If throughout the webinar you have any issues, go ahead and email hello@scvchamber.com. We are monitoring that email throughout the webinar. Please make sure to constantly check our events page on our website, scvchamber.com, to register for our upcoming programs as well. So today we're pleased to welcome Scott Abbot, Branch Director, District Surveillance and Enforcement for the Environmental Health Division, Department of Public Health, as we review the newest compliance orders. So compliance with the health office orders is paramount for the long-term reopening of many economic sectors while ensuring public health and safety of residents. So this includes consumers and those who make up the workforce of these sectors. So as health inspectors continue to conduct visits to ensure infection control measures are in place in businesses across the county, the LA County Department of Public Health has created a tiered compliance and enforcement plan that will include citations and fines for businesses that continue to violate health office orders. So to give an example, beginning at the end of August, fines will be issued to businesses that are non-compliant that can range anywhere from $100 for the first offense to $500 and a 30-day permit suspension for multiple offenses. So this includes businesses licensed and permitted by the department and those that are not. But with that, I am going to turn it over to Scott, and he'll go into more detail with us. So Scott, I'll let you take away.
All right, thank you very much. And can you advance the slide for me? Thank you very much. So again, my name is Scott Abbot. I'm the Branch Director for District Surveillance and Enforcement, and that means I'm in charge of all of the restaurant inspectors and the grocery store inspectors for the Los Angeles County Department of Public Health. So we do have this new program. It is in draft format right now, but we're going to present it to you so that you can understand what's coming. But everything that's here is not final yet. Please advance. So the purpose of the training is to review the requirements of the health officer order and investigations at permitted and licensed facilities and at unpermitted, unlicensed facilities. Those are ones that are not permitted or licensed by Los Angeles County Public Health. We'll review the administrative citation process and the citation appeal process. Next, please. So for a permitted or licensed facility, such as a restaurant, a grocery store, public swimming pool, body art facility, there's many others as well. Failure to comply with the health officer protocols, first violation is a $100 fine. So if we come out either on a complaint investigation or for a standard investigation for the health officer protocols, which we conduct in conjunction with our routine inspections, a violation of the protocol will be a $100 fine. You'll be issued a notice of violation, also known as an official inspection report, and we'll follow up within 3 to 7 days to check for compliance. Next, please. When we come back at the second time to check to determine if you've brought the facility into compliance, if the facility is not in compliance, it would be a $500 fine through the administrative citation process, and it could be a permit suspension for 7 days. A follow-up visit would be scheduled prior to permit reinstatement to verify that the facility is in full compliance. Next slide, please. If after you've been allowed to reopen, we come back and do another inspection to determine if you're still in compliance with the original complaint or inspection, we find violations again, it's another $500 citation. A compliance, this is also if we come out and find that you're not closed when we've ordered you closed. If you're found out of compliance, the facility's permit would be suspended for 30 days. We would issue an intent to revoke the public health permit or license, and potentially we would do a referral to the district attorney or city attorney. Next, please. Businesses that don't have a health permit or public health permit or license would be are handled a little bit different. So these are businesses such as hair and nail salons, just general retail stores, offices, anything that's subject to a health officer order, that we come out and we find that you're not in, or that we receive a complaint that you're not in compliance, we start by issuing a letter to the responsible party, letting them know the nature of the complaint and what corrections they have to do. If we receive a second complaint, that would initiate a field visit. Next slide, please. If on the field visit, we find that you're not in compliance with the protocols, it would be a $100 fine through the administrative citation process, a notice of violation, and referral to another regulatory agency if applicable. If it was a winery or a brewery, we would make a referral to ABC, Alcoholic Beverage Control. If it was a hair salon or nail salon or barbershop, we'd make a referral to barbering and cosmetology. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Oh, thank you. So I'm sorry, can you go back one? I didn't realize it had changed. So on the second one, it's if the second violation on the same complaint, it would be a $500 fine through the administrative citation and referral to the regulatory agency again. Next slide. On the third violation, or if we found that you were not in compliance with a notice to discontinue operation, we would be contacting law enforcement to issue a misdemeanor citation. We would have a $500 fine through the administrative citation process and potentially a referral to the city attorney for filing or district attorney for filing of misdemeanor criminal charges. Next slide, please. So this is an example of what our administrative citation is going to look like. It's going to contain the violations of the health officer order, the fee that's required to be paid, the correction date, and information on how to file a formal appeal. Next slide, please. The administrative citation notice of appeal. This is for every time we issue a citation, you have the right to make an appeal of that citation. It must be made within 30 days of your receiving the citation. It must include the reason for the appeal, and you must pay the full amount of the fine prior to the administrative citation hearing. If the determination at the hearing determines that the citation was issued inappropriately, the money would be refunded to you. Next slide, please. That's it. That's the short version right now. So if there's any questions, I'm willing to take any questions that you have.
Perfect. Thanks for that, Scott. We do have a couple questions for you. One question that we've got is this only for restaurants and grocery stores or specific sectors, or does it also apply to like medical offices, part-time clinics? Is it to everybody, or is it just specific industries?
It would be to any industry that we have a health officer order or an appendix protocol that applies to that industry. We have about 12 protocols for social distancing that are on our website with the health officer order, and they run from logistics companies, places of worship, grocery stores, restaurants, personal care, body art, things like that. We have additional ones that cover less common things like outdoor shooting ranges, car parades, drive-in movie theaters, and things like that.
Okay.
So it also applies to office buildings.
Okay. And then Scott, another question that we got is, how do you know whether a company is compliant or violating? And can you kind of explain what the violation means?
So when we come out to do an investigation of a complaint, or if we're doing a routine inspection and we're going to check for health officer compliance, we're going to ask the owner of the business or the manager that's on site to bring out a copy of their protocol that they are supposed to have completed and posted, and we're going to walk through the protocol with them. Have they completed the entire protocol? Have they provided copies to their employees? Do they have a cleaning plan in place? Do they know how to report to the health department if they've had 3 or more people with COVID positive within the last 14 days. So those are the kind of things that are all listed in the protocols. Each protocol is a little different because they're specific for that industry. So restaurant has a lot of things specific to restaurants, but most of the other protocols are just general. They follow the same pattern. And if you go through the protocol, we're going to walk through that, make sure it's completed, and they're following all the rules under the protocol.
Okay. And Scott, I know you mentioned this. I just want to real quick go back to it. So if you were to come out and do a check on a business, is that, I know you mentioned there's like routine checks, but would it also be, for example, I own a business and the business next door to me, I feel like they're not complying. Do you guys come out when another business or if customers complain, or is it more so you guys just have your routine checks and you'll come out then, or both?
It's both. For a regulated business that has a public health permit or license, we do the health officer checks whenever we do a routine inspection. We also do them on complaints. For the other businesses that don't have a public health permit or license with us, we do them on complaint basis only. Since March 16th, we've gotten about 27,000 complaints. So we're out there and dealing with them every day.
Okay. And then for a violation, is it only for employees? Like, what if I have a business and I have customers that aren't complying, for example? How does that kind of work or get solved?
So the most common one for customers would be not wearing a mask. So what we'd be asking for is, are you allowing them in without wearing a mask? Once they're in, are you asking them to put the mask on? And if your policy is that you're not going to ask them to put the mask on, we're going to issue the citation.
Okay. And then the protocols that you are mentioning, I know you said you had like a list for businesses. Were these sent to businesses, or is there somewhere business can go and kind of get what the list of the protocols are?
So all of the protocols are on our public health website.
Okay.
So publichealth.lacounty.gov, and go to media/coronavirus, and that's where all of the health officer order is. You can get access to all kinds of guidelines for businesses. In addition to the health officer orders and the appendixes, we have guidelines on how to do employee screenings, what face masks are recommended, what to do if a person is COVID positive that works for you. There's all kinds of information on our website to help the businesses out.
Okay. And for everyone that is on the webinar, we will send the link out that Scott just mentioned. So if you missed it, no worries. We'll put that out in our email that goes out to everybody who did join the webinar. Scott, what's the most common type of violation, if that could be disclosed? Are you able to say?
So most common is from when we started early on, when we first started enforcing these protocols, it was having protocols. We were probably getting 30% of the places we were going to having a protocol. Now we're probably up to around 70% of the businesses have the protocol. So I know people are waiting for the news to come out and say that the businesses can reopen, the governor to say that the businesses can reopen, but it's important that in LA County, whenever a business is allowed to reopen, that the business has to go and complete this protocol before they open initially. And we try to get them up as soon as we know the governor is going to be issuing the notice.
Okay. And what's the time frame for a company to pay the fine?
I know you have 30 days for the appeal, so it's going to be after that 30 days is you'll be getting the invoice after your chance for an appeal runs out. Okay.
And then once the company pays the fine, it's just kind of goes back to business as usual, or how does it work?
Yeah, once the fine is paid, so it depends if the violations have been abated. So if it's the third violation, hopefully everything's been corrected. There's no problems left. You've paid your fines, you start over with a clean slate the next time we come out. So it's based on either our routine inspection, those violations that we find there until those are gone, or a complaint until those violations are abated. It's not, we get a complaint this week, we come out and investigate it, you get a $100 citation, and you correct it immediately within 3 days, and then 2 weeks later, you get we get another complaint against you, we come out, we find a violation, it doesn't automatically go to a $500 violation. It's another $100 fine, and you get a chance to correct that before it escalates.
Okay. And then are there, like right now for, we obviously have business owners that are on this call and listening. I know you mentioned the website does have the recommendations, but, do you have any recommendations on what face masks that you recommend not to use, or which ones should be best to use that you can just kind of list off for us real quick?
Yeah, so I've always been a fan of the net gaiter. You pull it over your head and then you pull it up over your mouth when you need it. Well, a recent study just came out and said that net gaiters and bandanas are pretty much useless. So got to find something else to wear. The problem with these is they don't stop the small drops, and they actually break the bigger drops down into smaller drops so that they stay in the air longer. So yeah, don't do a net gaiter anymore.
Yeah, I know we've been hearing that it's constantly changing on what, masks to use and what not to use. And so, but you did mention that those are all on the website.
Yes.
And then
part of our recommendations on the website is what masks to wear or what type of face covering to wear. The other one that we don't recommend is the ones with the one-way valve on them.
Okay, perfect. And then do you know, how often or if these protocols are going to change? And so, in what way would they be updated? How quickly do they get updated? How's it kind of been?
So our protocols get updated very frequently. There's small things that get put in there, and I think the most recent protocol was issued on July 4th when the governor issued the new orders, and I think we've updated it 3 times since then. And every time we update it, the new sections are highlighted in yellow, so you can easily identify what the changes are.
Okay. Scott, does it help a business if they have photo documentation showing that they're following the guidelines as instructed to help avoid violation, and then having written documentation as well with dates?
Well, I think what they should have is protocols in place. You should have a protocol for how often your staff are doing cleaning. You should have a protocol written out for what to do if one of your staff gets sick, and how you're going to notify the other employees that they may have been exposed and that they need to self-quarantine. So a lot of what our protocols require is additional protocols. So, having those in place when we come there, and then being able to look and see at a log that, yes, somebody has been cleaning the restroom on an hourly basis. Those are the things that we're going to be looking at.
Okay. Scott, if an employer is not following the rules, for example, I'll just say, just to make conversation easier, I'll say mine. If my employer isn't following the rules, is there somewhere where I can go to file an anonymous complaint?
Yes, they can call the Department of Public Health, Environmental Health, 1-888. I know, I never have to call it. Hold on one second. 1-888-700-9995.
Okay.
And they can also go to our website, www.publichealth.lacounty.gov/EH.
Perfect. And for everyone listening, if you did miss it, we'll put this information in the email to send out to all the attendees. Scott, so right now these are LA County health orders and protocols. Can a city that resides in LA County, can they override these orders?
They can make them more strict. They can't make them less strict.
Okay.
So we've had cities back when it was takeout ordering allowed. We had a city that said, no, only drive-throughs. So, if the city's going to do that, we hope that they're going to communicate with us so that we don't have our staff going out there telling them one thing and the city telling them something else.
Gotcha. So they're able to just make your rules and protocols more strict rather than say, oh, the county says you need a mask, we're saying you don't need a mask.
Right.
Gotcha. Okay. Scott, if a customer refuses to follow the orders, just based on their health issues, I mean, what can an employer or business do?
So if they refuse to wear a mask, there's their other option is a face shield with a cloth drape on it. That's another issue. That's another way that they could comply. The other issue is if a person has health conditions that keep them from wearing a mask that are respiratory issues, then what I would suggest is you advise them to use your online ordering if that's available. There's other ways to accommodate people than have them in your store, because if they have a respiratory issue, they're at high risk for COVID. So it's really more dangerous for them to be out there in the public and not having any kind of protection.
Okay. And would that follow, same thing for an employee? If I have an employee that has health issues, offer them, like you said, the face mask and cloth on top, or I guess, is it, and I don't know if this would be something that you'd be able to answer, does that give the employer a right to ask the employee to stay home or furlough them or whatever it may be?
Well, if the person can do their job from home through a telework, that should always be accommodated. We recommend right now that if you're in an office building or any kind of job that you can work from home, you should be working from home. Now, whether I'm not an employment lawyer, so I can't tell you whether you can terminate somebody, right, or whether they would be able to file for disability. I don't know what would be able to do. Hopefully you would be able to accommodate them with a position where they're not exposed to the public. But if you can't, then you need to talk to an employment lawyer.
Okay. Scott, the next question I have is from someone specific for a physical therapy clinic. They say if a patient refuses to wear a mask due to health issues, can they refuse treatment?
I would think that they should have that ability, that they can ask them, because a mask is to protect the people around you.
Right. So,
you want to make sure your employees are safe. So that's why everybody that's coming in should be having a mask on.
Okay. Scott, I know, you were out of the office last week, so we appreciate you kind of joining us and giving us some time with this. So we really appreciate you being here with us. For everybody else, thank you so much for joining us. We will be sending out a copy of this presentation to everyone as well as the resources that Scott touched base with us on the website, the phone number. We'll get everything out to you guys. Again, just so as you all know, the Chamber does have its COVID-19 resource website. We will also be updating our information there with what Scott provided us, as well as we're constantly keeping it up to date. So feel free to constantly check that out. Again, scvchamber.com, and then you'll see the COVID-19 tab. With that, we do hope you all have a great day. Stay safe, stay healthy. Scott, thank you again, and thanks to the Department of Health for being with us. If anybody else has any questions that do come up that we didn't get to or you thought about later, please feel free to send them to us, hello@scvchamber.com. I can get them over to Scott and his team, and I'm sure they'd be more than happy to help us with getting the answers. And with that, we wish you all to stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to you joining us at our future webinars. Thank you, and thanks again, Scott.
Thank you for having me. Have a great day.
You too.